Still ringing. Welcome back, Woodstock Guitar Guy. Episode number 24, I think. I think we're up to 24. Heading to 10,000. Make it 12,000. Anyway, welcome here, welcome back. I'm here to talk about pickups, and in particular we're going to talk today about Wolfetone pickups, and I've only got a few here to discuss, but they're great, and I'm sure we've got plenty to talk about. To start with, I've got my Kauer, I'm hoping I pronounced that right, Kauer, Kauer, copy guitar by none other than Firefly. Let's get that off of there. And they've done an excellent job recreating, or paying homage to essentially a $5,000 guitar. And I picked it up for, $269 plus $27 in shipping. And set it up. I mean, it comes with the stainless steel frets. It comes with the mahogany body. It comes with actually really good tuners. They keep the guitar in tune, which is all we ask for here at Woodstock Guitar Guy. The pickups were okay. They weren't anything fabulous to write home about, but they were okay. And when I swapped out the pickups, of course, I went with Wolfetone, which is the pickup of choice for Kauer guitars. And so I got as close to it as I possibly could. I got a pair of Wolfetone T-tops, okay? These are recreations of a... See, even Wolfetone does their own recreation, homage to a 60s era Gibson pickup, humbucker. And they both are essentially the same pickup, and it doesn't matter if you put this one in the bridge and this one in the neck, or this one in the bridge and this. It doesn't matter, because they are both essentially the same pickup, okay, which is fine with me. I love it. It makes life a lot easier. I don't get mixed up in the process. Now I want to say a couple of things more about the Firefly before we move on to the Wolfetone. The Firefly, when I opened it up, there's a nice panel here in the back. When I opened it up, the wiring was great. I mean, it was all, vintage cloth covered. It had beautiful large caps in there. The pots were full size. I didn't change anything with the wiring. All I did was disconnect the pickups that came with it and wire up the new pickups to the same wiring harness. It was great. Okay. Firefly, upping their game again. I really appreciate that. Now, the other thing that happened with this guitar, and I did review it a while ago. I can't remember what number episode, but I reviewed it, and I don't think they're for sale anymore on Firefly's website, which is interesting. But what I did discover was that the action on this guitar was a little tough. It was hard work bending the strings. And, sometimes that happens. It seems to be common with the 335 styles that I've run into. Now, maybe it's just me. I don't know. But what I did was I changed out the strings. I swapped the strings, put brand new Diodarios on there. I like 10s, so that's what I put on. And I looked it up on my phone, which is here, and I wanted to find out, because I'd never really done this move where you wrap over the stop tailpiece, okay? I'd never really done this before. I've heard a lot about it. I got friends that rave about it. And I looked it up on AI, of course, and just to see what AI had to say about over wrapping your strings on your stop tailpiece. And of course they had an answer. It was really amazing. And I was right. I was correct. I had a theory that maybe by over wrapping the strings, I would loosen up the tension a little bit to make bending the strings a little easier. And sure enough, it did. And I have to say, it's a much nicer, sweeter guitar to play with the strings wrapped over the stop tailpiece. Now, I want to also mention, and this really caught me by surprise, was that Firefly had anticipated that I would be doing that. And their stop tailpiece, which you can see it looks just like all the Gibsons that you've ever seen in your life, or SGs or whatever. But the holes on the inside of the stop tailpiece were large enough so that when the ball end went through, because you put it through this way, you come through this way and you bring it across and bring it over. When the ball ends went through, there was room for the ball end to fit into a recess on the stop tail. And I just think that was wow. I was so impressed that Firefly took it upon themselves to anticipate that there might be some of us who wanted to do the wrap over. We'll call it the wrap over from now on, And so there it is. And then, of course, the pickups. So I have here, with the Wolfetones in the guitar, I have about as close as I'm ever going to get to a Cower original Daylighter super duper premium version of their beautiful handmade fantastic guitars. This is about as close as I'm going to get, $400 in, okay? And I love it. I simply love it. It's just exactly what I hoped it would be. A dreamy guitar to play. Has great tone when I'm not plugged in. And the T-tops were a real surprise. And I want to talk a little bit about Wolfetone. First of all, the customer service is amazing. I put in my order, immediately got emails from Wolf, the owner, and explaining to me how, he had something had come up and there was going to be a slight delay, and I was okay with that. I was on vacation. And pretty soon I started getting emails about, we're building it now and it's coming out tomorrow, and we're shooting. And off it came, and I was like, great. And I was just stunned at the quality, the care, the amount of communication that went on between us. I was so thrilled that I went and ordered another pickup, which we'll talk about after I'm done with this. The T-tops, I've looked everywhere for a T-top copy. I don't think even Seymour Duncan makes one. And I had a T-top fitted Les Paul that I played professionally for about 12 years. Heavy as hell. Great guitar. Sounded like $1 million, and I was never able to recreate that tone. It was a 69 Les Paul Black Beauty custom. I gave it to my son, who still has it. So I was able to get the guitar back in here for a little visit a while back, and I played that guitar, and I was like, oh man, the pickups were just wow. I mean, there's just nothing like them, So I jumped when I saw that Wolfetone had T-tops. I was looking for Wolfetone just to put in this particular guitar. I wanted to kind of pretend that I had bought a $5,000 Cower custom-made guitar. But when I saw they had T-tops, I was in. I was completely sold. Now you're going to hear the T-tops going out. I'm going to be playing them through some overdrive, because that's really the way you want to hear them. And I was so impressed that I went and bought another Wolfetone pickup, and we're going to cut to that right now. Okay, we're back, and we are back with a hollow body, jumbo hollow body. This is a copy of actually of an ES 165 Herb Ellis guitar, and it was made by Bernie. Okay, and I was able to score this one for a very reasonable price from a friend who had picked it up at a blowout sale up in Canada. Bernie, well, the story was that they had gone out of business, okay? And I did a little bit of research, and basically what happened was that the parent company of Bernie, Fernandez, filed for bankruptcy. They're in, they're reformulating their company, but they're still making guitars, but only for the Japanese market. So this was one of the last brand new gorgeous Bernies that is going to be available for a while in North America. There's still used ones out there, and they go for quite a bit of money. They're extremely well made, and they're about, if you buy them new, find one on like Reverb or something like that, they're about a third of the cost, or maybe less than a third of the cost of what you would pay for a ES 165 or 175. Now you can find some Epiphone guitars out there that mimic the 175s and or the Herb Ellises, and those are okay too. Don't get me wrong, those are pretty nice. But this is a special guitar. It came with one humbucker. That's all you get. One humbucker, which is fine, and two knobs, a tone here and a volume. Okay, that's all you get. And I play not a lot of jazz, but I do play blues. And I like blues, and I like to turn it up, But the pickup that came with the Bernie was not wax potted. And it's a big hollow body, so you're already fighting the hollow body as soon as you turn it up. And then without the wax potting, forget it, it's a losing battle. And you're going to be just feeding back like crazy. Now, these guitars are obviously, they were designed for the guy with the little Fender Princeton that sits down at his feet, turned up to about 2.5 or 3, and plays all the, the arpeggios and that sort of thing at a lower volume. I wanted a blues guitar. So I reached out to Wolf at Wolfetone. I said, hey, Wolf, what do you recommend? Me and Wolf are on like speaking terms here, buddies. It's great. I love it. And he had 2 possible choices. One is a humbucker called Dr. Vintage, and the other is a humbucker called the MK2, which I think is relates to something about Marshall. All right. And Marshall amps, I guess, or something. So anyway, I reached out to him. I said, what do you suggest? And he said, well, the Dr. Vintage, or if you want a little more high end, a little more treble, go with the MK2, which is what we heard coming in. Okay, I was playing the MK2 on the intro, and actually you saw me playing it. We did a little clip too of it. And so that's what I did. I just ordered it, and it came with the gold. I got the gold, you can see the whole guitar is gold. So I got the gold pickup in there, and just a brief note to you folks who are going to go working on a giant hollow body with 2 F-holes and no access panel. It's not easy. It's tricky. You need to have a lot of patience and watch a couple YouTube videos. They'll show you how to fish the wire through and attach it to your pots and bring them back. Because I had to take the whole thing out. They give you like no extra wire in these factory wiring systems. There's just enough to fit this particular run here. Okay, so I had to disconnect the jack, pull the whole thing out just to resolder, to solder the pickup to the to this guy, which I ended up not doing. I ended up basically using wire connectors that you heat up and melt, and I took my lead from the pickup, and I detached the leads from the old pickup, the original pickup, and then just cleared them up and then reattached them. I soldered the grounds to the shielding and everything, and then wrapped it with tape, and works great. I kind of cheated, but I had no choice really. I couldn't get the tone out because the tone's connected to a ground wire which goes to this, okay? And the ground wire is only this long. So if you try pulling out the volume to swap and actually do a direct solder to the volume, it was impossible without disconnecting the ground. And that's when I said, no, I'm not going there. I'm not going to disconnect the ground. So I cheated. And but anyway, the bottom line is I got a wax potted, very lovely humbucker. And if it gets a little too bright, you just roll back the tone. That's what the tone knobs are for. And I have to say, it's not too bright. I think it's just right. The body is still going to do a little bit of a feedback. And I'm trying to determine now what I'm going to do about that. And I'm going to look around and fish around on YouTube and see what they say. Do you stuff a T-shirt in here? What do you do? I don't know. Well, I haven't had one of these in years. I had a ES 175 when I was young and loved it. Great guitar. They have the floating bridge. Okay. Here's another tip for you folks if you're going to change the pickup or even the strings. If you're going to pull all the strings off and oil up the neck or whatever like that, get some of the blue tape. The blue tape. This is the blue. You want the blue or the green, not the masking tape. You want blue tape because it sticks on, and you tape it all down before you start taking the strings off. And then when you want to pull the tape off, it doesn't leave any glue or residue. So use the blue tape. But anyway, tape your bridge down. Keep it in the same position that it's in. Otherwise, you're going to be having to mess around to reset the intonation, which is, it came beautifully intonated. I don't want to mess with that. Got great action. Medium jumbo frets. Really nice tuners. They look like Clousons, but they're the good ones. They're not the cheapy, cheesy ones, that you can sometimes find from Temu or whatever. We'll talk in the next episode about what's happening with shipping and tariffs and all of that. I'll have a little bit of a deep dive into that. But until then, I just want to put a major shout out to Wolfetone pickups. Wonderful. They're hand wired. They use beautiful materials, the great wires, all the great, nickel cover, whatever you want. They have a feature that really, speaks to us here at Budget Guitar World Central, Woodstock guitar guy, budget guitars. And that is that they have a kind of a scratch and dent program where, they'll send you a pickup, and the pickups on the Firefly, the T-tops, they have like little minuscule, tiny little scratches that I couldn't even see. But they qualified for a 25% discount. So what's not to like? And I got the same deal with this. I don't know what the defect was on this, but I just put in the code for the scratch and dent. I don't, all I care about is the tone and the sound. I don't care if there's a little teeny tiny scratch on anything. That doesn't bother me in the least. And saving 25% is a really good thing. I mean, we all should save 25%. So great company to deal with, great company to communicate with, great product. So far, so good. I have no complaints. I am just highly recommend Wolfetone. And have a blast. You're going to spend less. You're going to spend some good money, but it is going to be somewhat less than some of the higher priced big names out there. And if Cower Guitars says yes, then Woodstock Guitar Guy says bring it on. Okay. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for listening. If you like it, hit the like. If you want to join, hit the join. Share it with your friends. If you want to make a comment, send me a comment. It takes me a little while to respond. Don't worry about that. I will get back to you, especially if you have a question. And go out and play your guitar for about a half an hour today. You'll feel like way much better. It takes a lot of the pressure off of the world we're living in today to just be able to sit and